Hey guys, how do we keep it dirty? And today we're looking at HM's Elite Prerunner. Hey guys, how do we keep it dirty off-road? And today I'm here with Kevin, who runs HM, and we're taking a look at his Elite Prerunner, and this thing is a fucking beast. We're gonna show you guys how this thing performs on the trail. My son and I got a chance to ride it, so we got to experience a Prerunner, which was a first for us. How was it?
You're gonna want one.
But first, we're gonna give you guys an overview of what this truck is.
What is it?
So what is it? So this is technically considered long travel, right? This is a long travel truck?
Yeah, this would be a long travel truck. A custom build. It's a 2019 F-150.
Right.
It's just an STX. It's a 5-liter truck. We wanted to go with the V8 just because of the turbo problems that we've had with the EcoBoost and blah, blah, blah. Plus the power delivery with the supercharger is way more linear. I have an EcoBoost myself, and in the dirt, I don't really care for it. I like the V8 trucks. They're just more traditional, I guess. Maybe that's it. But
so what makes this long travel?
Nothing stock anymore. The only thing that we're using that's stock is the bottom pivots. Everything else is completely redone.
And that's something I do want to cover, guys. You look at my truck with the SVC kit, and you guys consider this to be long travel. It is not. And if you look at SVC's website, they consider this mid-travel. So what makes that mid-travel? It's got the stock shock bucket. If you still have the stock shock bucket, it is technically mid-travel because there's 3 levels. Stock is stock, even though the stock Raptor with its suspension travel is what would be considered long travel on a Tacoma. That's still stock. Next up would be upgraded arms and all that stuff with the stock shock buckets, which would be considered mid-travel. And then you got this beast where anything stock is gone. All the shock buckets are completely redesigned, and you're using 10-inch shock.
We use a 10-inch stroke shock because we wanted the travel and the shock ratio to stay like how we do on the racetrack. We wanted that ratio to stay the same from the ball joint to where the shaft sits on the shock, compared to like if we had to use a stock shock like say the SVC, where they're moving everything up the arm to be able to get the travel, which in turn for us, we don't like the handling aspect of that because it makes it roll more, you know, when you're on the street.
I can attest to that. After riding in this, I can definitely attest that.
Yeah.
It's a different handling truck.
Yeah, and we don't have to run a sway bar because we have the shock so far down the arm, it controls the sway.
So why don't we start off in the back, since the back's already up, but let's do a quick overview of what this is. This is a fully caged back half truck, right?
Yeah, so the frame's been cut off. We reinforced the frame extensively and then basically build this 4-link system. This is our trophy truck rear chassis that we grafted into this system. I wanted to use parts of the new race truck that we have and put it into this as basic culmination of the 25 years of building these things.
So this is basically a race truck chassis, right?
Absolutely. 100% score legal. You could go race this.
But it's a Prerunner, so you get full air conditioning, you got a stereo and all that stuff.
Yeah, luxury interior, everything else.
So the sway bar, this looks a lot like the stuff I've seen on race trucks, right? So it's a little bit different.
It's the same, actually. It's the same exact thing we'd run on our trophy truck. So like I said, this is our rear trophy truck package.
You have an upgraded rear axle, right?
Yes.
So what do we got here?
A 4-inch chromoly housing, basically a trophy truck, all running gear. It's got the 10-inch ring gear, the big jumbo 36 axles. Everything is all top of the line.
Well, and notice too, your hubs are different, right? These are race hubs.
They're race hubs. They're trophy truck hubs.
So this is what you were saying about
all the big bearings.
You can take this out and start racing.
Absolutely.
Now, what about the shocks? What do we have as far as
shocks? Shocks are 4.5 and then a 3.0 coilover, 7 tube on the bypass. So trophy truck package.
And I noticed you got 2 springs and a kind of like a progressive setup.
Yeah. So every truck that we have, race truck wise, they all use a dual rate system. It helps on the smaller chatter. Actually makes it into more of a linear 1 rate with the lockouts.
So that gives you more tunability, right? So it's more capable.
Yeah, and it's easier to tune that way.
Now I noticed here you have, this is your trans cooler, right?
Right.
But you also have some coolers inside of this box right here, right? What else do you have in there?
Cooler, yeah.
Engine cooler?
It has a motor cooler on there too, a big one.
Now, when I first looked at this, guys, I was like, what's in there, right? Is he storing tools and all that stuff? No. That right there is space for that thing to tuck in, because this thing has massive amount of travel. How much travel are you getting out of that?
26 inches on this.
26
without
inches.
having to go inside the cab.
And that's a full length setup with the pivots and everything like that.
Full billet trailing arm, 70-75, all aerospace grade.
And I think that's one of the best features, guys, the billet trailing arm. This isn't some heavy boxed arm. This is a billet, beautiful piece of machinery right there.
Yeah, and we did it differently than a lot of other companies. We actually had this skid designed on there to protect the shocks. Because when they're just a straight beam, the rocks and everything can hit the ends of the shocks the way they're set up. So then they get destroyed. Plus it adds a ton of rigidity to the part. When we did it in CAD analysis, it was 7 times stronger than our steel arm.
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the pivot too? So I went under there to look at the pivot. Not gonna lie, I've seen plenty of Prerunners basically destroy that section of the frame. They peel it off and all that stuff. Yours doesn't look like any of those Prerunners that I've seen. What's the, what would you do
we've learned the
differently?
hard way from doing so many of these trucks because the frames themselves from Ford are very thin.
Yes.
So, and even if you overlay it and just leave it with overlays and not do any kind of reinforcement work and actually make it like a bulkhead connecting both sides, they completely rip off. So that
you
was,
have a full tube going through
absolutely.
it, right?
Couple of them, couple of different spots. And then when we cut the frame, we reinforce inside internally too. So we basically cut the frame out, do all the webbing inside there, and then replate it, put it back in, and then replate it again. So there's double layers of it.
It's a lot of work down there. It's
a ton of
beautiful
work
under there.
There's a lot of work done on the chassis that it's hidden, right? Because you don't really see it, but there's a ton of work that we do on these chassis to make them hold up to what we're going to do.
When I was looking under there, you have the pivot point reinforced, but you also have a little bit of section right past the pivot point reinforced as well. What's that for?
Where you mean for where the cage goes into it?
Yes.
That's just to tie in the cage to the frame again. So basically that we're not just putting a tube right on top of the frame. We're actually reinforcing it again where the tube connects. In case you get in an accident or anything like that, we're trying to make it as safe as possible.
Looking through the rest of this, right, you have the typical stuff. You also have your spare tire carrier with your jack, which I love the way you put the jack. It makes it easy to access. This right here is your fuel cell, right?
Yeah.
How big is that thing?
65 gallons. It's a 70, but 65 usable because the foam takes up some of the volume.
What's the foam for?
Just to keep it from sloshing. So it basically has like an aircraft bladder, collapsible bladder, 100% race legal bladder.
Yeah, and everything back here is easily accessible too, right? Because I imagine you're using high pressure pumps.
Yeah, we have 2 pumps inside. They're Weldons, all trophy truck pumps inside.
Now, what kind of range are you getting out of that giant tank?
When it's full, it's 988 miles.
980? Wow.
Yeah. In the dirt, obviously it goes down. The street, yeah, I would get that. Say you're getting 11 when we were driving out, and then say in the dirt, depending on how hard you're driving it, anywhere from 6 to 3.3. So it just depends on what terrain you're in. When we're in the sand wash, things like that, it sucks the gas.
And I thought my fuel economy was bad at 8 with that thing down to 6 when I get on it. Let's go to the front now. Let's take a look at the front. So can we open that up? Yes, please. So the front's very different, man. The one unique thing that struck out to me when I first saw that is how you have both of the shocks in the upper control arm.
We wanted it to make more like how we do our race truck and have the shock side by side. We do have a kit that is similar to the other kits that are out there where you put the shock on the outside, the coilover in the middle. We do that just because we're trying to pick up the stock pivot points. When we're doing this, we have a clean sheet of paper. We're designing a whole brand new system. So we're able to put the shocks side by side. This is the same as our race kit that we do sell. Made a wider arm up here to be able to accept the 3.0 coilover instead of a 2.5.
So does that improve the handling too? Because I noticed this tracks very differently.
It's a lot more linear with the bigger spring. It's a better, more progressive spring rate compared to the 2.5s. The 2.5s get a little choppy. They get a little harsh in the rub, where these are a lot more linear. A lot more fluid.
I noticed you also have your bump integrated towards the top, right? I've always heard that that's the best way to strike. When it strikes on the bottom, it just kind of twists the arm rather than actually stop it correctly.
Well, the problem you run into is this is more progressive, obviously, right? When you're down there, you're almost riding on it all the time. Where this has movement. Compared to down there, you only got a few inches. Really, when we do the bumps down here, we're not really using it as a bump stop, so to speak. I mean, I'm only running minimal amount of pressure in them. I'm using it as a positive stop to where it doesn't want to bend, shock mounts, things of that nature. When we're getting it into this type of system, we're using this to tune because we have a full cage. When you're doing like a standard truck, like say your truck there's nothing to tie into to make it strong. In my opinion, I've seen some people do it, but no,
there's no strength in this. This is a crumple zone. It's not meant for strength.
This is only here to hold the radiator. That's the only reason we're reusing this part of it, and the air conditioning. That's it. That's all it's really doing.
Now your suspension's moved up forward too, right? An inch?
Yeah, it's an inch farther forward. So we do that on all our kits.
And you're running 40s. Now, I noticed all you had to do was the pinch welds over there, right? You're not modifying the cab.
Well, we did. So
it's
hidden very well. But yeah, so we had to modify here and here. So this all came out. It was a lot bigger. So we actually had to come in through here, and we bottom the 40 out, we turn it, make sure it 100% does not hit, which you can see. It doesn't touch anything. The tires are clean.
And then you also cut off the front as well, too, just to kind of make sure that it clears.
And we reinforce underneath, too, which you can't really see, but with the custom steering, all of that's reinforced back on the frame again so that it's all tied in.
Well, and I think that's one of the unique parts that stood out to me, too, when I first looked at yours, is all the level of reinforcement you do on the front of the frame.
And
you do it throughout, underneath,
on all the kits, too.
And everything.
Yeah.
I mean, you're almost completely redoing the pockets, which I can't tell you how hard it is for me to convince shops to do stuff like that because I've bent mine so many times.
Here's my thoughts on this is when we're doing a longer arm than what, say, Ford engineer B said we're going to have this load into this frame, we got to reinforce it because we're putting more load into what they designed it for. So without doing reinforcements, it's kind of almost like, to me, it's like pointless. You're putting a longer arm onto a part that's going to fail.
You have no idea how much of a struggle I've had getting other shops to understand that. And
Our
with
kits,
HM,
all of our kits come that way.
yeah, that was stock.
Yeah.
So that to me, guys, that stood out the first time I ever saw anything Kevin built. I was blown away.
We've done frame trucks though since inception. I'm 52 years old. I've been doing this for 25 years. We were building frame trucks back in the day. It's kind of a culmination of 25 years of experience of building race cars on frame trucks that gives us a pre-runner that can go out and do what we can do.
Yeah, and this thing can, I mean, just looking at your cage too, and it's just impressive. So you do have a full engine cage.
Yes.
What engine
Hidden and all that stuff.
So I know you talked about it earlier. You said this is a 5.0, right?
Yes. Supercharged with the Nelderbrock system. It's all 50 state legal.
And then you have a custom cooling system here
Yes.
too, right? So I see you have an upgraded.
Yeah, CBR radiator.
You still have space for the AC condenser. Then you have a custom bracket, and then you have your intercooler up
Yes.
front. That's beautiful work
Yep.
right there. That's what I want to do to mine. I can't find a shop to help me do that. So you
can do it.
All right, dude. We're gonna be doing something like that for mine because I need it. You have this really cool clamshell setup for the hood. And I saw you guys moving it. It's fairly lightweight, right?
Yeah. Yeah, we worked with McNeil Racing. This is basically their tilt front system that we use. I actually sent my own personal truck down there to Mark, and he built this whole entire front end off of my truck with the width that we needed to be able to have a one-piece front end that fit the new Gen 2.
Now, I imagine, too, they had to do some tweaks because you're doing more travel and you're doing bigger tires and probably what your most guys use on
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. Yeah, so the wheel wells are set up for a 40. So when you buy this front end from them, it's set up for a 40. It's ready to go. Which we don't hit, we don't trim, nothing. It's perfect. He did a really nice job on that.
I mean, this is really the meat of this, man. That front suspension is beautiful. And for those of you guys wondering, if you get their bolt kits, I think which bolt kit has basically this similar setup? Well, it's not really a bolt kit, right?
It's not really. I mean, it's, I don't really want to call it bolt kit because there's other companies using that, but it's more of a long travel system. This front end, when we send it to other shops, you got to have a really good fabricator to do it because there's a lot of geometry involved. I mean, it's not just like bolted in and go.
So you're going to have a kit, basically, it'll allow you to do similar suspension geometry, but without a cage.
So we're going to do a 92 and a 94 version. The 92 version is going to have a 2.5 coilover just because the arms are so short. The 94 version will have the 3.0 coilover. So the ride quality will get better.
So for you guys out there that actually want to be able to say you have long travel, because you can't say you have long travel if you have stock shock buckets, Kevin's got a kit that's going to be able to do that. And
we're going to do the first install this next month.
And you got a couple different versions of it, right?
Yes.
One version will be a lot like this, so it'll have the shockets inboard and all that stuff. We've shown it on this channel before. It's a killer setup, but you're also going to do a more traditional one that's not as wide, right? Closer to what mid-travel is as well, right?
But we're going to do a new shock bucket with a true 10-inch race shock in there.
And I think that's key because the 8-inch shock, I think, is very limiting. So being able to go to 10-inch.
And as we were cycling through CAD, to be able to try to use a stock replacement shock, the only way to get more travel is to move the shock up the arm, which in turn causes sway.
Two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive?
There are going to be two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive available. It's basically the difference is a spindle. The arms are all the same. It's just the spindle changes.
And for those of you guys that want like true long travel, you really have to stick with two-wheel drive, right? Because the four-wheel drive becomes a kind of a limiting factor and it has a lot of issues.
Yes. I mean, especially for what we're trying to do. For the speed that this truck can go, we've done the four-wheel drive Raptors. We raced on the four-wheel drive Raptors. I mean, we placed 9th overall for the year in trophy truck on a four-wheel drive Raptor. It's not as fast with the parts that we're running. Yes, can you get an all-wheel drive truck to go fast? Yeah. I mean, Mason Motorsports has proven that right now. But it's a combination of a lot of money. When we're trying to build something like this, we're trying to keep the budget constraint a certain price point so
keep
everybody can try to get into it. Yeah.
Well, and that's something that I do want to highlight, right? My truck requires a lot of maintenance because it's still four-wheel drive. And I'm adamant that I want it to stay four-wheel drive. But as you guys have seen in these videos, we've gone through axles, we've gone through issues, we've had steering problems. There's so many issues that we had just because of the fact that we kept four-wheel drive.
You saw, you know, in this truck before, I can go pretty much anywhere with these 40s and the horsepower that we have, as long as you drive smart. We turn around in soft sand. I mean, we've done all that, and it doesn't get stuck.
40s do help out with that. That is impressive.
And driving, you got to learn. You know, you just don't gun it.
So, what else can we highlight here in the front, man? Because there's so much good to see here.
I mean, the steering obviously is all custom.
This isn't your traditional steering system,
no,
right?
This is completely designed by me for these trucks, and we have them available from Gen 1 all the way up to the newer Gen 2s. I haven't done the Gen 3s yet. I'm not sure if I'm going to get into the Gen 3s just because of the electronic package. I'm not sure if I want to get into that.
Is this like a swing set or what is this?
It is. It is a swing set steering. So it does run a Saginaw box from Power Steering Solutions, his RAM, and then we actually designed the whole steering linkage on CAD. You can drive this thing through the whoops one-handed.
And you also got full skid plates underneath, right?
100%. Yeah, and it ties back into all the reinforcements that we do on the frame. So it has cross members going and tying the frame rails back together and back into the cage again.
So the hubs, we talked about it back there. Those are different, right? They are race series. I noticed back here you got R1 Concepts.
So we designed a new hub that basically bolts into the stock location. It's a two-wheel drive, obviously. This allows us to be able to have bigger bearings, and it also allows us to run the trophy truck pattern on this with bigger studs. So now they match front to rear. We don't have to run a Raptor front and a 6 on 6.5 rear and then have dual drilled rims like we had to do in the past. We actually designed our own front hub to be able to make that go away and to give it more strength. Full chromoly, 300M, I mean, all the best parts.
It's all serviceable too,
All
right?
serviceable,
Which is key.
yeah, 100%.
Because the stock ones, you just got to take them apart and replace them.
We prepped them and checked them right before we took it out. It's easy to take them apart. It's very user-friendly, and it's very, very strong.
You were running R1 Concepts. Is that their big brake kit?
So this is for the Raptor on the front. The rear, we did our own. So we basically ran 6 pistons all the way around to be able to handle the 40s.
Now, how well does this stop?
Very well.
Even with 40s?
Yeah.
Now, you took us around the block on this thing, and holy crap, does this thing move, man.
Yeah.
How do you do that? It's impressive how this thing moves.
It's got some horsepower. It's a Gen 3 5-liter.
What's the horsepower rating on this?
When we had it dynoed, it was making 430 to the rear wheels.
With 40s?
Yeah.
What kind of gearing are you running?
It's got a 5.0 gear in it.
5.0 gear, really?
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't have to go that tall with the 10-speed.
That don't feel like... I was behind you trying to go to Barstow, and you were just pulling away from me all the time, dude. You were doing that with the 5.0 gear.
And that was feathering. This thing literally, like, you're feathering it on the freeway, and it's doing 100.
Wow.
I mean, it wants to just go. So you got to really watch your speed in this thing.
Wow.
It's fast. It's very fast. And it does have a full custom pulley system that we designed too, to be able to accept the power steering, because these trucks are all electric racks.
Not only that, to deal with issues with the tensioners and stuff like that with superchargers.
Right, and we did a full 8-rib system on this. So we designed that 8-rib system and added a power steering pump to it.
That's one of the things that I just found out about those 8-rib systems, and
huge.
The thing that happens with superchargers and the tensioner. I actually broke one. So
if you're doing supercharging on these trucks, you got to run 8-rib. Even on the Raptors, you have to. I mean, we've done too many of them, and it doesn't work on the 6-rib.
You're just breaking ribs and you're breaking
throwing
belts
all the time like that. It runs 2 batteries, has selector switch, kill switch, the whole 9 yards. Race legal, like I said. Full fire suppression system in here too.
So I did see that tank under there.
Yeah, it ties in over the engine, over the tranny, and over the fuel.
All right, so let's check out the interior, because the interior is pretty impressive. You're doing a full cage, right?
Yes.
This is a race spec?
Yes, all
cage?
2-inch chromoly.
And it's all the way around, so you got it here, which for big guys like me, it's awkward getting in and out of this thing. But full-on cage setup, but not just full-on cage setup, but plush interior too. You guys got some nice materials going in.
It's all suede and leather.
The STX doesn't come like this.
No, Caesar from Mobile Upholstery, who does our work, he actually did this mold for us.
So he did like these panels?
Yeah, he did all the work for us. So this is actually a fiberglass mold, and then we leather wrapped it. We wanted to be able to sync the GPS in, just like, like the race trucks.
And then you guys did a custom center console too, right?
Custom center console with a bump shifter.
So this has the shifter on the column, so that right there is just for shifting up and down,
That's for shifting, yeah. Basically, we drive the truck in manual in the dirt. That way you can shift up and down.
Man, I so want one of these, but these are a pretty penny. And then it looks like you did some upgraded stereos, but that's something an owner preference did. And then you guys have full PRP
all the
race
Alpha
seats.
race seats, yeah
3
of those.
5-point harness. Dude, this thing is nice, and it doesn't look like half-assed like some of the other ones I've seen, right? Like you see the little upfitter switches in like weird spots. This all looks good, man. The fit and finish is just nice.
Well, the nice thing about the STX is it's basically a stock work truck. So we wanted as basic as possible, and then add what we wanted to add. We didn't want to have to go around what Ford thought they wanted. We wanted to be able to put in what we want and what our customer wants.
And then back here, I see you have your intercoms, you have some of your kits, you have your CO2 tank.
Yep.
So how come only one seat in the back?
Because that's all he wanted. He wanted to have the leg room. It's kind of a compromise. In you get 4 seats in here, we have to change the cage design a little bit.
Oh, that's right, because of the triangle.
Yes, exactly. So we just did one for Michael Phelps. We just did his cage, and he has kids. So we did a custom made bench in the back, and then we changed the way this X comes down, and basically it goes to a single, and then we tied back in again to the frame. We'll be doing his truck soon on 4-link.
Eddie, how are we going to get a dog seat in there?
You basically got to take the seat out.
Actually, so for the LA police gear truck, because he had German Shepherds, so we actually made a bench in there, a flat platform for him to carry his dog.
Dude, because that's
it
the one
bolted
thing,
in and out.
That's the one thing that I was thinking about yesterday is how am I going to get my dog back here? Because we were being jostled around quite a bit. So.
Yeah, so it is possible. We've already done it. We had it all set and upholstered, and so he could have his dogs back there when he went exploring.
One thing I am noticing, man, is I've looked at a few of these cage trucks before, and they look, the fin finish is not great. You can see where the panels were cut. You see all the marks and tool marks and all that stuff, right? I'm not seeing that in yours.
No, we get rid of all that stuff. We redo everything.
Yeah, because like even over here, right? Like you don't really see it. The panel's still here, so you guys trimmed it and cut it up just right so that it looks clean. I don't see cut up pillars. You guys do a really good job of integrating the rack without it looking all hinky.
A lot of culmination of doing cage trucks.
Especially in the A-pillar. Like the A-pillar, I've never seen a cage truck really get the A-pillar right. That almost looks factory, and looks like all you did was you put your tube in here and then it's leather wrapped, right?
Yes, yeah. We leather wrap all the tubes. And the other thing too that is really cool that he's doing is all these panels, we can actually remove these. So they're actually pushed in. And if you need to get in there and access wiring, because we have wiring still running up in there.
Right.
You know, so if you need to go and access anything, or say, you know, God forbid you did get in a wreck or something like that, you could take all this out and fix the truck.
Wow.
Without having to tear everything. Because some of these, you know, custom upholstery guys, they do this where it's all glued in, and if you have a problem, you got to tear it all out.
Yeah, no
So
kidding.
this keeps the cost down for the guy. When he wants to do maintenance, it's a lot cheaper for him.
But like even too, dude, like the way it cuts into the bottom is all hidden.
Yep.
You've hidden it behind there, so you can't see it. On most trucks, you just see a hole here, and it's upholstery cut, and it just doesn't look good.
No, we hide it really, really well. We keep everything as tight as possible.
To me, it's that attention to detail that you just don't see in pre-runner builds these days anymore. Everybody just assumes, hey, because it's a pre-runner, it's what you got to live with.
Yes.
I'm not seeing that here, man. This is another level of detail.
You just got to engineer it correctly. That's it.
It's impressive, man. All right, guys. So now we're going to go ahead and transition over to Barstow. We're actually going to go take this thing out. We got a lot of cool drone footage for you guys to check out to see this thing ripping up the trails. And then my son and I are going to ride in this thing. And let me just tell you this. We weren't ready. We were not ready. Now, we actually ended up meeting with Kevin at his shop the day before we actually filmed that intro. And we're actually going to go out on the trails, do some proper stress testing of this truck, make sure they can find any faults with it. And at the same time, too, that a couple customers coming out to check out the truck to see if this is something they're going to do or do similar setups, you know, the kits, the 94s, the 92s on their Raptors. We also brought on the dog. This is the first time out for him, so I figured it's a perfect opportunity for him to come out since we're not going to be running all day. We went straight out to Barstow and met right out at Barstow, Maine, where the main race course is at, off of Outlet Center Drive, to do some testing with the crew and have some fun. So we are here at Barstow to do some testing with the HM Prerunner. Why Barstow? Because it's where everybody tests. This is where all the race cars around here test. The trails are pretty whooped out, and it's the perfect place to do some real suspension testing and see if it's ready for a course, because Barstow itself is a regularly used course. So let's see what this truck can do. So we quickly aired down the truck and quickly realized that we were going to have a hard time keeping up with his truck. I mean, stuff that was pretty rough for our truck, he was just sailing over like it was nothing. Good thing we were testing. Hey, it's handling this like it's nothing. He went straight, right? Yep. Shit. Fuck, where did he go? Do you see where he's at? All the way up there. I know we could probably go faster through this, but no. These are pretty fucking deep. You want to go up there, then come back? Yeah, we're going to set up on this side road here, and I'm going to break out the drone. He went through that like there's nothing. So Kevin, explain to me what's going on right now.
Now with the spring change, we're going to take some of the compression back out a turn at a time just to get it a little bit more dialed.
Because that was pretty smooth.
It was very smooth. It's very smooth, but it can get better.
I know you don't like to be on camera, but you're going to be on camera a lot today.
Oh, that's fine. I love being on camera. That's a sweet little fun thing. I think we should get out. We still want more horsepower. I think 1,000 would be good.
Just?
1,000.
Just?
Just 1,000 I think would be really good.
It'll be good for one trip, right? I was thinking those were some small whoops. Just look at the truck going through there at slow speed.
don't need it. You don't need it.
Fuck, that sounded cool.
You don't need it.
That sounded so cool.
You want it now?
Yes. Now this is the part they don't tell you about with pre-runners. See them? They're all getting their seatbelts on. It's a 5-point harness. It's a whole little ritual. It's not as simple as just getting in and click. You have to like put all your harnesses in, then you got to clip them in, then you got to deal with the little clip thingy, and yeah, it's never easy. And then you got to tighten everything up.
Is that jealousy I'm hearing?
It takes a while.
Is that jealousy I'm hearing?
No, it's just facts.
You're just jealous.
We just have regular seatbelts. It's still going.
We did have a harness.
It's still going. Yeah, we have a lap belt because that's all that makes sense. We don't have a cage. The worst thing you could do is put a 5-point harness or any more than a 1-point harness on a truck without a cage. It's the worst thing you could do.
So
Worst thing. It's so dangerous. You want to ride in one?
Do I want to ride in it?
Yeah, we should do it on one of the runs.
I don't know.
Have you take the GoPro with you?
I do not know.
I think you should.
We might regret it.
I think you should.
Have you driven it off-road?
No. See, they're still going. I think they're just about ready, just everything tight and ready to go.
Start it up and then all that extra stuff.
She whistling.
You go?
Yep.
Once Kevin and the crew were happy with the performance of the truck, we decided to move on and try to find some deeper whoops and deeper trails to get some better testing and some better stress testing into the truck. We're like on the bumps. Lay down, big boy.
Hopper, lay down. Hopper. Holy hell.
Let me semi-park over here over to the left, and I'll just run through this area and see what it looks like and how bad it is.
Copy that. So
Oh my god. And he's taking this at speed? Right?
pay close attention to this section of trail right here. There is a giant hole right here in the corner of this turn, and really the video doesn't do it justice with how deep the whoops are here. And you guys are going to see this truck just do it like nothing.
Where you are, and then coming down out of those corners right there.
That corner is really freaking deep, man.
Yeah, maybe through that channel area, you know, where it got really tight. That looked kind of cool too with the drone.
Yeah, I was, because I was so narrow. I was like, oh, fighting that trail.
And a homeless guy.
And a homeless guy. I saw him up there, and I'm like, oh, fuck. Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, make sure you're...
Yeah, you're twisted.
I'm going to do this.
Yep. Like that.
They all go the same way. Down this way.
Now you get that in there. All right, have fun, bud.
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
This thing is something else. Holy crap.
It's like coming to Jesus moment.
Oh my god.
How was it?
You're gonna want one.
Isn't that cool?
That was fun. You gotta experience it for yourself. Oh my god, your Raptor is nothing compared to that. The straps are too skinny.
Yeah, I know. Getting all stressed just putting this thing on.
Thank you for flying, Eric. Yep.
Wow. Holy shit, man. I had no fucking idea.
That's what a built truck is.
That's on another fucking level, dude. My brain can't process how fast we were just fucking going through that. Yeah, but you were just skipping over.
Triple M, quadruple like a dirt bike.
Your mom's screwed.
Yeah. I told him like, oh, he's gonna make him like payments.
Start looking for the RV to live in.
Dude, that is no joke,
insane,
man. That's like
going
on
through
another
that
level.
sandwash shit was like nothing. It was like easy. It was like just racing.
Just going in that, dude, it's fucking slow.
Yeah, it would
'cause
take
I
us
can't
10
get on
minutes
it.
just to go down.
You know, those loops are like 2 feet deep, some 3 feet deep, and there's no way my truck can handle that.
Yeah.
You just skipped over it.
Skipped right
Holy shit, dude.
over the same kit that we sell to everybody on the street. The only thing that's different is the upper arm's wider on this kit. That's it. Everything else is the same. It's a Raptor.
That's wild, man.
Yeah, mom's screwed.
Fuck. All right, here, hold that. Now I have to awkwardly get out.
Here, go.
Fuck, that was wild.
I got lightheaded from that, man.
Well, yeah, your brain can't process what the fuck you're seeing.
I'm used to going maximum 90 on a smooth road. Not 90 on this crap.
My mind could not grasp how fast we were going.
No, if you watch my video, my mouth is just open. I'm just in awe.
Sounds it makes too, man.
Oh no. You forget you're not in the Raptor, you're not in that car yet. Once you sat in it, you can't go back, can you?
I can, it's just, that was
a whole nother thing.
it is mind-boggling how crazy fast that thing was.
And I am not that vagrant
So we're back at home. I'm downloading footage, getting it ready for editing. And look at the pup. Yeah, he was tired. He liked his first day of off-roading. He did really good. Definitely gonna bring him on more trips. For sure. All right, guys, so we're back from getting a ride on this thing, and it's actually the next day. Holy crap, Kevin. I was not ready for that. I've never ridden in a pre-runner. The best way I could explain it is, like, if you guys remember when you were a little kid and the first time you went on a big roller coaster, like, and I'm not talking like some small amusement park stuff. I'm talking like Six Flags, like the first time you went on Viper and how violent, how crazy that was. You just got off with a big adrenaline rush. Your head's kind of hurting, your ears are ringing a little bit, and you just don't know what you just experienced.
That terror at the beginning?
Yeah. And it was amazing. Like my son and I both had the same experience.
Yeah.
Like we were strapped in and we're like, okay, I'm in tight.
Yeah.
I was not in tight.
No.
I needed to be tighter. It was so I couldn't hold the camera. Dude.
Yeah.
It is like the speed and the performance and the way we skipped on the trails is like nothing I've ever experienced.
No. And this has the travel and the horsepower to get on top. And that's really what it is. You're playing on the whoops. It's almost like a boat.
Yeah, it was amazing.
You're playing on top of the bumps, but you got to commit to it and go the speed to be able to do it.
But even still, dude, like how smooth it was running through the bumps.
Absolutely.
I mean, you do feel the hits, right?
Yeah, of
Because there's G's. There's we were pulling G's throughout that whole time. Something you don't pull in the regular truck ever. We were pulling G's.
Oh yeah. I mean, the trucks, everybody goes, oh, they're really smooth. Yes, they're smooth, but as you go faster and faster, the trophy truck guys, sometimes they get blurred vision. They hit so hard.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how fast they're going.
And like I couldn't hold the camera because of that. I ended up having to put the camera like right here just so I could hold it, or I put it on top of the thing, and it was so difficult to get it stable because it was amazing
so
what we were
much fun,
doing.
Though, right?
Dude, like my
There's
mind.
nothing like these things.
So my mind couldn't process how fast we were going.
No. I build them, and even for me, when I first get in them, it's impressive what they can go through. It just blows me away.
Dude, one thing that I do want to point out that stuck out to me, because you guys know I've been having a lot of steering problems over the years with these trucks. The faster I go, the more steering problems I have.
Right.
My 17 died before I started having problems. They were just showing, but they weren't too bad. By the time I got my 2020, I was running faster. That thing had nothing but steering problems. That rat couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
With my new truck, I'm starting to have it again because, the pumps and the noises and all that stuff. You're driving down the road on a dirt road when it gets choppy, the SV system is just not stable. The steering wheel is constantly coming off my hands and it's jerking and all that stuff. Watching you drive this thing, your hands were relatively smooth. minor,
One-handed.
minor
I
edits.
mean, 3 to 4 foot whips one-handed all day long.
So how
There's
how
no
is
feedback.
that possible, man? Because to me, that was the
It's
most
the system.
impressive part.
Yeah, it's the steering system we've designed. Basically, by running the box and the ram all together, it takes all the feedback out of the wheel. There's zero feedback.
And then
the
the-
ram's taking all the abuse now.
The suspension geometry though has a lot to do with it though too,
Absolutely.
because you're not
Yeah.
getting knocked around as
No,
much.
absolutely. Even on our standard kits, because of our spindle design, we spend a lot of time on CAD. I mean, a lot of time. Almost a full week of just cycling to get as much bump steer out of these systems as possible. Because with the Ford system, it was designed, once again, engineers, they have a parameter. They go from here to here, and after that, they don't care. So once you start increasing travel on these trucks, the bump steer gets crazy. Unless you change the steering angles in the steering, it goes wow.
Because I think that's what it is, right? It's bump steer. Because
It
I've
is.
never known what bump steer was until I got into the Gen 1. And the electronic ones hide it.
Yeah.
And when they do glitch, they bring all that bump steer to your hands and kill
Yeah,
you.
the electronic ones do hide it better.
They hide it, but
The
when they
Gen
come
2s.
on, it's the worst thing ever.
Oh yeah,
It's worse than these.
And the thing too is if the system's not set up correctly on the geometry, then the racks are breaking.
Yeah.
And they're snapping and things of that nature.
Well,
or
and
the
we've
loads
seen that.
increase. Yeah,
like we've seen that on the trails.
Yeah.
A lot of these guys running mid-travel, long-travel
Yeah.
kits, they're
Yeah.
snapping racks like crazy. And it's one of the reasons why we didn't go to the Gen 3, and it's why we left the Gen 2 platform.
Yeah.
And I wanted to go with something more analog in the Gen 1. But even still, with the SVC kit, and no knock on those guys, it's just something that I'm noticing as I've
Right.
tried to take that kit faster. The bump steer, it's just like the truck wants to go somewhere else than I want to go.
Right.
I get a lot of understeers, right? I'll
Yeah.
turn into it, and nothing happens. I saw you take turns like they were nothing in this thing, and wherever you pointed this thing, it went.
It would go.
It didn't slide across the turn
No.
or nothing like that.
No,
it was
it
impressive.
bites, it hooks. Our geometry is really, really good on this.
And you did that with two-wheel drive
I know.
too, which is
Yeah.
it boggled the mind because we wanted some pretty soft stuff
Right.
too, and you were just like nothing.
It
on
hooks
rails.
and goes. I mean, we've spent a lot of time though. And this is the thing too, is we've raced on these trucks. It's not like we just built them and played in the desert, did all that. We're physically going and trying to compete. When you get to that level, it changes what you need and what you're looking for. So this has been a progression. This is the 8th truck that we've done like. This isn't the first one. This is number 8, you know. So this is the culmination of
So
us
this is a
building
very
these for a long
niche
time.
audience. How long does a build like this take?
Almost a year.
Almost a year to put
build.
together.
Yeah. I can do a little faster now because we CAD designed all the chassis, so that helps us speed it up.
Now,
You know
does
what I mean?
COVID play a factor, or just
COVID did, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
COVID did, yeah. I mean, as far as like right now, getting shocks and parts and things of that nature on the supply chain is really slow. You know, we're talking 4 to 5 months on shocks now. These would be even longer because they're fully custom. So we're talking maybe 6 months.
Now, how much
So-
does something like this cost?
This truck itself would be about $265 to $285 plus
the
the
truck.
truck. Yeah. Which this was a 19 when we got it at the end of 19, so they were relatively cheap.
19. So this has a 10-speed, right?
This has the
which I think I
10-speed.
heard you talk about. You don't recommend the 10-speed.
Not a fan. We've had this 10-speed built, but we still have little issues with it. There's so many sensors on these things, and that's the problem. I do like the older 6-speeds better. We raced on the 6-speeds. We have friends that are racing Class 7 on 6-speeds. They're very durable.
So that's the one thing I keep hearing, right? The 6-speed in the Gen 1's a good transmission.
very good
You just got to get it to cool better.
You've got to get it programmed correctly. We actually have a tranny builder here in Temecula, Waltz Tranny, who does our trannies for us, and he's got those down. I mean, we had 3,000 race miles on those before we'd have to service them. That's a lot.
Kevin's been racing for a very long time, and he's got a lot of that race experience that's built into these trucks. Including, you got a race truck that went a whole season without having to be rebuilt, right? It just went through the whole season, it kept steady, and didn't have to be rebuilt, which is unheard of.
Serviced, obviously. You know, it has to be serviced because you're going to wear out bearings, things of that nature, but no mechanical failures at all as far as chassis, suspension, things of that nature.
Yeah, and that's key because if you look at the trucks today, racing today, after every single race, those things are torn apart and rebuilt back together just to run.
And they
again.
have to be. For the speeds that their trophy trucks are going, they have to be rebuilt every race. I mean, because they're wearing parts. You know, and then it's a safety factor too. You want to be able to catch a crack or something of that nature before it happens because you don't want to have a catastrophic failure while you're going that fast.
But I think it's key that you were finishing races time and time again.
Yes.
Time and time again when others weren't.
Right.
And
correct.
all that has gone into these trucks, and it's going to be going into your other kits, right? So you're doing different size kits. So what are the different size kits that you got coming up
So
that
we're
people can sign up for?
gonna do a 92-inch wide one, and then we're gonna do a 94-inch wide one.
So 94 is about the width of my truck,
It's the
right?
same as an SVC or an
Right.
RPG or something of that nature, yeah.
Right.
So we're going to offer both. So that way the guys that don't want to have too wide of a truck and maybe they're more of an enthusiast, but they're just not going to the desert all the time. They want the look and they want to be able to have better performance. They could do the 92 kit and only run a +2 fender. They don't have to have the big old body work and all that if that's not what they're into. Then we'll offer the 94 for the guys that who wants to go out and have the performance, go to the desert more often,
Now the 94
likes the look of the big fenders
The
and all
94
that.
is the one we've showcased before on this channel,
Yes,
right? That was
correct.
that big, really setup, and it's very
Which
much
is
derivative on this.
Yeah, it's exactly like the design on this is the same design on the new kit. It's just into a more user-friendly platform.
And then the next step up is this. If
yeah.
somebody wants this, which this thing is a freaking beast.
It's a beast.
If you've never ridden one of these, we'll have to set something up some point and
Absolutely.
just have you give people rides on this
yeah.
thing, because you guys don't know. If you've ever ridden
fun.
a pre-runner before, it doesn't matter.
No.
This thing is wild. Like, Eddie, you've ridden in pre-runners before, right? What do you think of this thing?
This thing's a spaceship. It's on another level.
She's a banger, baby. She's a banger.
I personally think that I don't have the driving skills to drive this right now. It's so fast.
I think you could. It's pretty easy to drive.
Really?
Honestly, it's very user-friendly.
Man, I almost
very
broke out my wallet
user-friendly.
yesterday.
Yeah.
The only thing that stopped me is there's not enough money in the bank.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta have the money to be able to play. That's for sure. It is like a GT3 Porsche. I mean, it is something you could drive every day.
Yeah, but
but
this will
it's
draw-
made to go, and you could go race it if you wanted to.
To me, this is better than a GT3 Porsche.
Oh, absolutely.
Anybody can
well,
buy
that's
a
the whole
GT3
reason why
Porsche.
Alan built this. He was going to buy a newer Porsche or an exotic, and then he's like, "Why not build this? If I go to Cars and Coffee, everybody's going to want to see this thing, because if I show up in a GT3, there's 5 more there.
Yeah.
There's not any more of these.
Yeah, it's really
This is
a
one of a
difference.
kind.
The guys building this, it's Kevin, and then we also have Eddie. Eddie,
Come on in here, buddy.
you guys are just a small 2-man shop,
Yeah,
right? And
that's all we are.
you and I have talked about this a lot, right? I think you guys should be bigger than you are because of the quality of products you're
Right.
building, right? From the beginning, you guys have blown me away, because anything that I've tried to explain to a shop that I needed, it's your default. This
Right.
is what you're doing, and you guys are just the ones building it right now,
Yeah,
right? It's
absolutely.
just you two, and you want to stay small.
I'm kind of a dying breed in this industry. It used to be like the owner was the gentleman working on your vehicle, and it's kind of gone away from that.
Yeah.
You know, you've got a lot more people that have come in and more corporations and more corporate. Where I still want to keep the quality. That's the thing. It's like I've been bigger, and it's hard for me to keep my hands on everything. You know, to be able to make sure that everything's 100%. I would rather be more boutique and be able to take care of my customers 110% than be able to take care of maybe only 50% of the guys. You know what I mean? It's like that attention to detail, I think, is lacking nowadays too. And I want to be able to have that and be able to not lose that. And that's the problem with getting too big, is you lose that.
The reason why we were out yesterday, guys, is because you guys were basically stress testing this thing, right?
Yep,
Doing a full-on
absolutely.
shakedown run.
Yep.
While we were out there, you guys were doing shock tuning,
Yep.
right? Playing with the compression and all that stuff, which was cool. You guys are looking for any rubbing issues and
Right.
basically putting it to the extreme to make
Exactly.
sure that this truck is ready, solid for Baja or wherever the customer wants to go, right?
Exactly.
Which is pretty cool to see.
And that's what we do for all of our customers. When we're building a vehicle of this nature, it's basically, it's priced in for us to go out and help them.
Now, I do want to point something out, because Eddie brought this up to me, right? I thought this truck was already tuned. It's not, right?
No.
This is just your base tune. You haven't handed this over to like KDM or somebody to
No,
get that
no,
extra
no.
10%.
Nope.
This is just your base tune.
This was out of the box. We did one spring change to it, and then we've turned a couple of the tubes to help it out. But no, it's not. The rear is completely out of the box from King.
I can't tell you how impressive that is to me.
Very impressive.
Because mine is still technically out of the box. It hasn't gone through tune. It desperately needs it.
Right.
Because as soon as I tried to even come close to going to half the speed you were going, my back end was bucking like crazy. My front end was nosediving.
Right.
And that's the base tune on that truck. So to see what this thing can do with the base tune, I can't imagine what it would do with the proper tuning
King builds the
section.
best shocks. He builds truck shocks, and that's what he does best. That's what they started as, and the proof's in the pudding. It's a phenomenal package.
It was
really
impressive
is.
to see it
Yeah.
yesterday, guys, especially without any tuning. And then I was fully expecting a full breakdown. There wasn't one.
Right.
You know, because I've been on the XO runs before. I've been on other big runs. Pre-runners always break first.
Yeah.
And the shit we were doing,
Yeah.
this thing took it, and then some. No issues. It
No.
was pretty
We've
impressive.
had gremlins. You know, it's like in any build you're going to have gremlins. It was just a bad fuel injector. Something simple like that. We try to take care of our customers 110%. I always advise everybody, just bring it back. Well, we can get it fixed. Trust me, if there's something wrong with it.
What I've been finding is everybody's shop has a different level of experience.
Absolutely.
Right? And I've run into that where like, hey,
Absolutely.
I want to do a cooling solution. We haven't really done that before because nobody asked.
Right.
It's like, well, I'm facing the problem. They just don't know, right? So
Right.
it's been a very different experience, and I've learned a lot with that truck, and it makes me want to have your kit more.
Well, we'd love to get you on it, man, for sure.
So we got to make that happen somehow.
I think the 3.094 kit might be in your future. I think that'd be a nice kit to run. I do want the bigger shock and spring on there for you. I think that will help tremendously as ride quality.
Well,
for sure.
and I definitely want to do the bigger shock bucket, right? Because I'm definitely feeling like that truck's very capable.
Right.
It's amazingly capable, and
Yeah.
for what I've been doing, it's awesome, and it's taking the hits, and it's doing a good job.
It's not a bad kit. I mean, I don't want to bash anybody.
But I want to go a little bit faster.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's taken me about 6 to 8 months to get used to that speed. I'm at that point now where I want to go faster, and the truck's not performing the
Next
way
level.
I need it to.
That's kind of where we're at. You know, it's like, this is next level. This is the next step. This is the evolution.
And I think that's a perfect place to end, guys, because this is the next step. It's the next level. In my opinion, Kevin is making the best kits on the market for F-150s and for Raptors, and I highly recommend you guys check him out because,
Well, we started right here.
yeah, started right there.
Here's the OG first four-wheel drive F-150 ever built, and now we're doing a full revamp on it. We've been doing these for a long time.
Definitely start reaching out to these guys. Currently, you're just on Instagram. You still haven't got your website back
Haven't got
up
the
yet.
website back up yet now since the partnership died, but basically we'll get it back up again. You know, it's just
Oh, and for those of you guys wondering, yes, he's gone. And he's never coming back. He's gone from the off-road industry. I don't think anybody will ever accept him back, and it's just you.
yeah, it's just me. It's just me
you.
again.
Which
So.
He was the real genius behind it. He's
Me and
the real
Eddie. I
genius.
can't leave I can't
Eddie.
leave him out.
But yeah, guys, start getting a hold of him. What's the best way they can get a hold of you right now?
Phone number, or you can go through email, either way, or
Okay.
Instagram. Just DM me on there
Okay.
and do that.
And we'll make sure we put that info here on the screen, and we'll do it down below in the description. If you guys want to get on the list, keep in mind, guys, he's a smaller shop.
Yeah, first come, first serve.
First come, first serve.
That's how it
But
goes.
this is no joke, guys. You will get something completely different that performs the way it's supposed to, and it'll take you to that next level that you just didn't know was possible. And I sure as hell my mind couldn't wrap around it to the
It was
point
fun.
that
It was fun, and I loved having you out there. It was fun to give you a ride.
yeah, that was
was a
crazy.
blast. And your son. That
My
was
wallet
fun.
hurt so bad afterwards because all night I was thinking, like, how the fuck do I make this happen?
Right?
I'm gonna have to sell a child, maybe two. How do I make it happen? Question in the comments below. I know you guys are gonna have a lot. This is a longer video, but there's a lot to show you guys. There's a lot of good here, and I had to share it with you guys because again, this is one of the kits that I believe in the most. This is amazing. This is what I consider is the standard for Raptors. So again, questions, comments below. Thanks a lot for watching. Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks, Eddie, for helping us out today,
Appreciate it.
and thank you for letting us
No
experience the
problem.
truck.
No problem
man.
at all.
And more to come on HM, guys. So as they start building their new kits, we're going to start showing it to you guys. All right? Thanks for watching, guys.